All right, so the glute medius is really important to runners because it is the one muscle that tends to work a lot to keep your pelvis level when you're running, right? So in the stance phase of gait, that has to hold this level so this isn't doing this. So what I want to give you guys today are my 5 favorite or best exercises that I do for runners to work this muscle. The first one that I like to do is what we call a side leg lift. And this one is kind of the exercise I like to do, and the next one that I really want to make sure that the person that I'm working with can actually feel the glute med, right? That's super important, like that you can actually feel the muscle that's working and not just hope that you're doing it right. So for this one, what you're gonna do is you're gonna lie on your side, you're gonna have your leg bent like this, okay? And then you wanna make sure that your pelvis stays upright, okay? And then you're going to take your foot, and it's kind of like almost like a 3-dimensional move is what I kind of consider it, where it's like I'm lifting up, I'm also engaging back a little bit, and then at the top, I'm just rotating my toe up a little bit, okay? Just like that. And you'll see if you look at the angle from the edge of the table here that the key to doing this is not rolling backwards. So a lot of times when people do this, they sort of roll their hips a little bit, then you're using more of your hip flexor. So if you're doing it correctly, you should almost feel like the leg's behind you, but it's really not, it's straight. So again, it's an up, back, and toe up a little bit. You'll notice that I'm only doing it from the hip. What a lot of people do this wrong is they kind of flex their side like that, okay? So just there, and you should feel it here. The glute med lies right below the, right in the pelvis, right? Right above that pelvic crest, you come down a little bit, and that top part of the glute, that's where you'll feel it. So it's an up, back, and a rotation. That's the first one I want you to do. Doing like 12 to 15 reps of that is a really good place to start. All right, the second one that I want you to do, we do on a step, right? So if we stand on a step and we take one leg off the step like this, and you're balancing on one leg, then you're sort of simulating what you're experiencing with running. And if you bend this knee and I let this side of the pelvis drop a little bit, this hip goes out, then to lift it, I'm using my glute med, just like that. And I'll often give this one to somebody if they're really having a hard time feeling it. They may not have felt it with that first one, or they felt it just a little bit, but we wanted them to feel it for sure. They want the patient to feel it for sure with their foot on the ground, because that's how they're gonna be feeling it when they're running. So it's sort of just like a little subtle pelvis drop, right? And then just a little lift up to there. Now, once they feel it, then I like them to be able to hold the pelvis level, right? So this here is kind of just a little drill, and then the actual exercise would be hold that pelvis level and then challenge it with just a little bit of leg movement. So I'm actually working the glute med on this side to hold my pelvis level while I'm moving my leg out to the side. So I might have someone do like 20 reps of that. Then I'll also have them do just maybe a little step down, forward a little bit, and then back up, pushing up through the knee, all while holding this level. So we're isometrically holding this pelvis level, using the glute med while we're doing a bunch of different things over here. So it starts like this, then maybe 20 of these, maybe 10 or 15 of these, and you should feel like you're getting some fatigue there in the glute med. All right, so the third one that I like to have people do to work the glute med, especially for my runners, is a single leg sit to stand. So you want to get on something that's fairly high, especially to start out with this. The reason you want to be on something fairly high is I don't really want you using any momentum, right? Like you could probably do it lower, but then you're just going to kind of push up like this. So you want to be fairly high. You want to have your foot underneath of you. You want to lift the leg that you're not working off the ground. I want you to lean forward, and I want you to push down into the ground. And the key is to make sure this knee doesn't go in like this. So the way I see it done, a lot of people who are lacking some strength here is they kind of do this, where you see my knee's going that way, my body's going that way, to counteract it's basically trying to balance yourself to bring that leg a little bit more in the middle of your body, so the leg's in the middle makes it easier, right? So the way to do this correctly is to come here, load the leg, and then just push straight up, just there, and then ease it back down, okay? Shift forward, really push down into the ground, make sure that knee's not moving medially, and push up. That's the single leg sit to stand. Doing about 10 of those on each side, a couple rounds would be perfect. All right, so the fourth one, glute med exercise for runners, is what I call a side plank for hips. So a typical side plank would just be like this, or with your feet just like this, holding yourself still. But when doing a side plank for hips, and I usually always have people start with just the knees, it's hard enough that way, is that you, instead of going just straight, you now push down with this leg, right? And by doing that, I'm getting the glute med. This actually, in some research, really shows a lot of activation, like some of the most activation of the glute med. So I'm pushing down, and then you can bring this leg up. You can bring it up to here like this. You'll get a little bit of glute med on that. So you're hitting it on both sides, okay? And this would be just a hold, an isometric. You could then go up or down a little bit as another variation. And then the hardest way to do it would be to just have both legs straight. I think they call this the starfish or something. Extremely hard to do. I might need to work on that a little bit. So, but yeah, so just here, lift the hips, not just a side plank, lift the hips, bring the leg up to there. Holding for about 30 seconds is really good. All right, the last one I want to show you that's kind of a glute med or definitely a hip one, specifically for runners. I got this from Chris Johnson, is basically what I call band diagonals. You're going to stand with your knee bent, okay? You're going to take your opposite hand, put it on the knee. And then the key with this one is you start with the foot right behind your other foot or right to the side of it. And you're going to basically put your leg out at about a 45, right? Push this leg all the way straight and bring it back in. Just like this, okay? The key to this one, there's several keys to this one. As your leg goes back and forth, I don't want you to put your weight into this foot. That's often what I see people trying to do. They just shift their weight. You have to keep your weight on this leg, okay? Just tap, bring it back. Tap, bring it back. Make sure the leg gets fully extended. Now, where the work is occurring on this right side is, as my leg extends, obviously the band's trying to pull the knee in. We're trying to keep it out. So again, working the external rotators, the glutes along with a couple other things, the glute med along with other muscles to keep that straight. And that is the fifth one that I like to do for runners. So if you're a runner and a lot of times people are getting a little bit of pain or discomfort here, or this area is fatiguing when they're running, and then when that happens, then IT band tends to happen. They start getting some pain further down the leg, sometimes even down into the shin and ankle. Work on these glute med exercises to really help you stay stable when you're running across the pelvis, and that should help you a lot and help you run with a lot less pain. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.